Hello guys, Brawlbat1 here, coming to you with a new Yu-Gi-Oh video, and in today's Yu-Gi-Oh video, I have for you my newest deck, the newest deck to my collection, that is the most amazing deck out there, Amazements. Now, I built this deck because one reason, and that's because it is actually a really fun control deck to play. Like, it's been a long time since I've seen a deck out there that's control, that's consistent, that's playable, and that's just really cool that I've wanted to play. The last one I think was actually Altergeist, and this deck is actually very similar to Altergeist in the fact that it has its own multi-faker in the form of Arlecchio here, which is just actually a really strong card, and I just felt like this was a really cool deck to build and something I wanted to show you guys. So in today's video, gonna be doing my Amazement deck profile for you guys. Hopefully you will enjoy, hopefully you'll like it, hopefully you'll get some ideas for your own Amazement deck profile if you're actually playing Amazements yourself, because honestly, this deck is fun. I would fully recommend playing it. It's just a really strong control deck, and honestly, I think it's better than Eldritch, and because of that, that's why I want to play it. It's like more enjoyable and not as boring as Eldritch, so here's my new deck profile. So let's go ahead and show you guys the profile of the Amazement deck, and hopefully, as I said, give you guys some ideas for your own Amazement deck profile. So starting off, we obviously start with the monsters, and we're playing 3 of the boss monsters of the deck. 3 Amazement Administrator Arlecchio. This card is absolutely insane. This card is a multi-faker on, like, just literally activate a trap card on the resolution of the trap card, so after it's resolved, you get to go ahead and special summon it from the hand. Really insane. But it's not only a multi-faker, because it has multiple other effects, such as you can go ahead and banish Amazement trap cards from your graveyard to go ahead and destroy opponent's cards. So if you have like 5 Amazement trap cards in the graveyard, oh, I'm just going to go ahead and banish 5 traps in my graveyard and pop 5 cards my opponent controls. So it's a multi-faker that can pop the opponent's entire board. And not only does it have an effect that says, oh, I'm just going to free summon and also pop the opponent's cards, but guess what? Whenever your opponent special summons or normal summons a monster, you get to go ahead and equip an Amazement trap card from your deck to your opponent's monster. And seeing as this deck really relies on equipping trap cards to your own Amazement monsters and your opponent's monsters, because they get different effects depending on what they're equipped to, this is actually really strong, seeing as 1, it's a free summon, which is really nice, 2, it pops opponent's cards, and 3, it goes ahead and equips cards to your opponent's monsters so you can get your Amazement traps, such as the Cyclone Coaster, which is a reinforcements of the army while equipped to an opponent's monster. So we play 3 Alicino because of that. It is a free searcher, well, it's a free special summon, it's a free pop, and it's also just a go ahead and equip to opponent's monster whenever they summon. So really strong. We're also playing 3 of the normal summonable monster in the deck, which is Amazement Attendant Comica, and she is actually really good as well. And just like Altergeist, it also is similar to another Altergeist card. This card is very similar to Altergeist Marionetta in the fact that when she is normal summoned, you get to go ahead and set 1 Amazement trap from your deck to your board. So you set the Amazed Attraction trap, you go ahead and have it to equip to Comica or your opponent's monster, so you have plays there. So it's just a really good card there, just to be able to go ahead and equip to your opponent's cards and also equip to your own cards. So really strong, and also gives you access into your Horror House and Cyclone Coaster, which is just really nice. But she is also very good for another reason, and that's because while she is face up on the field, she has a quick effect that allows you to go ahead and change where the Amazement trap is equipped to. So for instance, if you have a I don't know, a Horror House equipped to your opponent's monster, you can go ahead and move the Horror House's equip to your monster. So for instance, if you go ahead and Book of Moon effect, then you can just go ahead and move it to another monster, Book of Moon your own card if you feel like you need to Book of Moon it, I don't know, because of whatever this is last equipped to when you activate the effect, it will go ahead and do that, and then you just go ahead and Book of Moon that monster instead. Now obviously this will go to the graveyard, or but then you get to do that. But also if you did actually normal have this on the board and you go ahead and equip something with Alicino, you equip the Horror House to an opponent's monster with Alicino, and you have Comica face up, you can just go ahead and move the equip with Comica to your Amazement monster, and then you go ahead and have an imperm with the Horror House as well. So Comica is just a really strong card, being able to change where your monsters are equipped to, and also being able to set your trap cards from the deck, which is actually really good for the deck. Next, we are playing 2 more monsters. We only play 8 monsters in the deck, and the last 2 monsters we're playing are 1 Ecclesia, Dogmatica Ecclesia, because she just searches Dogmatica Punishment, which is a free search, and I do play a Dogmatica engine in the deck, because I feel like this deck really does need the Dogmatica engine. One, to get more trap cards so you can go ahead and get the free summon of Alcino, and two, to have more ways to control the game. And we also do play one Fleur de Lis because, well, it's just a free imperm on summon if you control Ecclesia, and it's another big monster that will allow us to basically play the game to go ahead and beat over our opponent's monsters and get in that damage. Because that's one of the things this deck really does lack on, and it's big damage. Like, the most damage you're going to be getting up most times is 4k, so being able to have these additional monsters that can just free summon themselves gives you more access into more damage to basically be able to play the game a little easier. So 3 Fleur de Lis and Ecclesia for additional summons, and also just being a pretty decent cards in general for the Dogmatica package. Those are all the monsters we play though. Like, we're playing a very small monster lineup because obviously 3 Alcino, 3 Comica, and then the 1/1, because you don't really need to run more than 1 Ecclesia and 1 Fleur de Lis. But you have to, you really do have to run 3 Alcino and 3 Comica in this deck. Like, they're the main monsters, and you have to run 3 of each. Going on to spells though, we're playing 3 Amazement Ticket. This is a very, very strong card for the fact that, one, on your turn, this card allows you to search any Amazement monster, so you can go ahead and search your Alcino to go ahead and have it for a summon on your opponent's turn, or if you have a trap card you can activate on your turn, just a free activation, summon it from the hand, or Comica, to go ahead and normal summon Comica and then go ahead and set an Amazement trap from your deck. So Amazement Ticket on your turn is literally a free search by paying 800, but during your opponent's turn, this card also has a different effect, where if it is your opponent's turn, you can go ahead and activate this card and set 1 attraction trap from your deck to the field. So if you control this on your opponent's turn, quick effect, you flip it, you go ahead and set any attraction trap from your deck to the board. So any Amazement trap is now set on your board, but you're allowed to go ahead and also use that trap the turn it is set. So Amazement Ticket is not only a free searcher, so if you, for instance, if you have opened like Comica and you've opened Administrator in your own hand with Amazement Ticket, it does have an alternate effect that will just allow you to get another trap from your deck to have more ways to play the game. So just a really good card, having 2 different effects that work on both people's turns, which I think is actually really, really good. Next though, we play 3 Nadir Servant. Obviously we're playing the Dogmatica cards, and when you're playing 1s of each, you have to play 3 Nadir Servant, because it allows you to basically recycle the Ecclesia from your graveyard, giving you more access into your Dogmatica punishments, and also giving you more ways to send extra cards to the graveyard to potentially change your hand or get more cards, or pop opponent's cards with something like Unts or something. So you want to be playing 3 of this. And then we also do play 3 Pot of Prosperity. Our extra deck 9 times out of 10 is completely irrelevant, so 3 Pot of Prosperity is just really, really strong, being that you just banish like 3 cards from your extra deck, look at the top 3, add 1 to hand, and you can still special summon, you can still draw, you can still normal summon, you can still use anything else. You just can't draw cards for the rest of the turn, which this deck doesn't actually do. You don't draw anything in this deck. This deck has like 1 draw effect that's in the extra deck, and like that's it. So this card is just really strong, and you want to be playing it at free. Like, before I got my third and second pot, I was having to play Extravagance. So if you don't have Prosperities, strongly suggest that you play Extravagance instead, because your extra deck, it's not very relevant. So unless you're using the Dogmatic cards, so literally you can just swap these out for Extravagances if you are poor and don't have the Prosperities. But like, honestly, free Prosperity is the way to go most of the time, because the card is just absolutely insane and is really, really strong, just giving you a choice and being very strong. Like, it's basically a Pot of Duality, which honestly, if you didn't want to play Prosperity or you didn't have Extravagance, would actually be a sound replacement as well. If you do want to play something else, you could play Pot of Duality in this deck as well, because like, you don't necessarily need to special summon Ecclesia, because majority of the time you will just normal summon her, and you're normal just summoning Comica all the time because she only gets her effect when normal summon. So if you don't want to play the Prosperity, go ahead and cut it and play Duality. It just locks you out of special summoning, so you can't like special summon Alcino the turn you activate the turn you activate it. So yeah, but those are all the spells we play. We only play 9 spells, as you can tell. And then going into the important part of the deck, the trap cards, the control cards, the cards that allow you to play the game and stop your opponent from playing the game so you can win the game. So starting off, we play 3 Amaze Attraction Cyclone Coaster. This is very important to play at 3 in this deck. You have to play 3 of this for one reason alone. One is equipped to an opponent's monster. You can go ahead and send it to the graveyard to go ahead and search 1 Amazement monster. This is the rotor for the deck outside of the ticket. Like, this deck has 2 rotors, and Amazement Cyclone Coaster has to be played at 3 for that reason alone. You go ahead and flip it, you equip it to your opponent's monster, and then you instantly search Alcino, so you have all your place up for the turn. If you do not have a way to get to Alcino or Comica, then you're going to have a really bad time, and this just being able to get you there is really strong. But if you already have those cards, this card is actually still really good outside of that situation for an MST because, well, because you can actually turn it into an MST, as I just said. Because while it's equipped to your monster, you can go ahead and target one spell and trap card your opponent controls and destroy that spell and trap card and then send this card to the graveyard. So pretty much, if it's equipped to your monster, MST, if it's equipped to your opponent, it's a reinforcements of the army for Amazement monsters. So the card is just very, very strong, of being that it just gives you free searches and it's MST. So if you're up against another back row deck, this card is very useful because you can go ahead and send it to graveyard and then just pop a back row, such as a Floodgate. Or if you're up against, like, I don't know, a deck that plays Mystic Mine, this gets rid of the Mystic Mine. So really good, really strong card that you have to play at free. And then we play free Horror House as well. You have to play 3 and 3 of each Cyclone and Horror House. I really wouldn't cut this to 2 because I tried it at 2 and I realized very quickly that you run out of Amazement traps so fast. And I'm even considering putting the the FA trap card in here as well, because the amount of speed you go through and the amount of actual traction cards you go through is very fast. So, but Horror House, you have to play at 3, and this card is actually really, really strong as well, because while it's equipped to your monster, you can go ahead and target one effect monster your opponent controls and negate its effects for the turn. So that's a hard once per turn effect. Both effects are hard once per turns. And if it's equipped to your opponent's monster, it's essentially Book of Moon, like Ghost Tricks normally do, because it's based on Ghost Tricks. And so it's just really strong. So if you've got like this in your deck, or you've got it on your board, it's really strong because of, like, say you're up against the deck like Dragon Link and they normal summon, I don't know, a Starliege Seraph. A Starliege Seraph. You have Alicino on board, you go ahead and equip the, use Alicino's effect to equip to that Starliege Seraph, and you equip the Horror House, and then just go ahead and use Horror House to set the Starliege. Like, 9 times out of 10, if they don't have a follow-up play, they lose. So you just go ahead and deal with that, and you just have so much more resources and so much more advantage. Or hell, if you're playing this correct, if you're playing this another way, or you want to play around like LP and Pisty, something you can do is, if they summon it into a zone that your opponent doesn't want, so if they summon it into a center zone, or summon a monster into a center zone, you can go ahead and just equip it to the monster in the center zone, and then just set it so they can't actually use it for that turn, and then they can't really use LP and Pisty very well, which kind of prevents them from playing the game in that way as well. So Horror House, just a really strong card, being a Book of Moon and an infinite impermanence technically for your opponent. It's just really strong, and you have to play it free. And then continuing on though, we play free infinite impermanence. We do play, this is the only hand trap we technically play. I don't think this deck really needs hand traps, because like we're playing a lot of disruption in the deck already through purple cards, and seeing as we are a control deck and are inherently slow already, we have to kind of focus on that more so. But the reason why we do play the free impermanence is just like why you would play in Autogeist, where you open imperm during your turn 1, during your opponent's turn 1, and you open it with Alicino. That basically means, oh, we have the imperm and we can go ahead and summon Alicino, and then that gives us an additional disruption for our opponent's turn. So just a really strong card with like multi-faker and imperm. Like Alicino is essentially a multi-faker, so I don't know why you wouldn't play free impermanence in this deck in general for that reason. We also do play free Torrential Tribute, absolutely insane blowout card. You go ahead and do this against any combo deck, they 9 times out of 10 will lose, because, well, you wiped all their monsters at the correct time, they now lose, and because of you have Alicino in hand, you go ahead and summon Alicino, and now you have a monster and they don't. Really strong, really strong. We also play 2 Dogmatica Punishment because, well, I feel like 3 is too bricky, and seeing as we can search it for Ecclesia, I don't see the need to actually, you know, play out more than 2. So we only need to play 2, and I feel like it's good at that. Some Floodgates we do play is 3, there can only be 1. This deck does not care about there can only be 1 whatsoever. Like, we play, because we play what? We play Psychic with Alicino, we play Machine with Comica, and then we play Spellcaster with the Dogmatica cards. So playing 3 there can only be 1 is really strong in this format, just because it stops so many decks. It stops Dinosaurs, it stops Dragon Link, it stops Drytron, it stops literally 9 times out of 10 any deck. Like, the only deck this card is pretty bad against, I would say, is Bird Up, because, well, they're all they're Beast, Wing Beast, and Beast Warriors, 3 different attributes, so they can technically play around the can be 1. But against 90% of the decks this format, this card is absolutely insane, and it's definitely a free of in this deck, because it's just really, really strong. Hell, I'm even debating putting Macrocosmos in as well, because you don't really care about your graveyard. The only reason I'm not playing Macrocosmos right now is because it kind of conflicts with the trap cards, in the sense that, well, you can't use Alicino to banish them to pop cards, and if your opponent does somehow get a bigger monster than Alicino, then you're not going to be able to do anything there. So 3 that can only be 1 is just really good and very strong. And we also play 1 Imperial Order, because Imperial Order is just a very good card. Being able to say no to spells is just really strong. And in this format where like a lot of decks are playing like a lot of spells, like Invoked, Tri-brigade, so many different decks play spells, this card is just very strong and something that I wouldn't play a control deck without right now. Plus, it says no to the Harpy's Feather Duster that our opponent activates on us every time. So no to that. And then we also play 3 Solemn Judgment, just like it says no to the just like Imperial Order says no to the Harpy's Feather Duster, these also say no to the Harpy's Feather Duster. So we're playing the Judgment up free because I don't want to get Harpy's Feather Dusted. And then finally, 2 Solemn Strike. Obviously, we have so many different trap cards in this deck that do so many different things. Solemn Strike is just a really good card because even though we don't really care about hand traps or stuff too much, I still want some ways to interact with our opponent's boss monsters, such as their big negate monsters or stuff along those lines. So I wanted to play 2 Solemn Strike in the deck to kind of have that. If I could bump it up to 3, I would, but like there's just so much space in this deck that isn't easy to change that I feel like we have to, we just don't have room. Like honestly, like it's so tight, like really, like I guess I could cut the impermanences, but I don't want to cut them because I feel like the impermanence is just too strong with Alicino. So yeah, we do play the 2 Solemn Strike, but that's the main deck. And honestly guys, this main deck, I've been really thinking about it, working on the ratios, and I feel like this is perfect. I honestly don't see any things I would change in the main deck. I feel like if I could play more traps, like more floodgates, like it would be Macrocosmos and maybe a 3rd Solemn Strike if I were to change anything. But I feel like this is just really perfect right now and doesn't really have any changes that I would personally make. So that's the main deck though. Let's go ahead and show you the X deck. It's not that important really, like a lot of these cards aren't needed, but like we're playing the punishment, so the reasons for a lot of these cards are to do with punishment in general. So starting off, we play the 1 Paleozoic Link Monster. The only reason we're playing this is because of while it's in the graveyard, while it's in the graveyard and our opponent tries to destroy our set spell and trap cards, we can just banish it. So if our opponent does Harpy's Feather Duster us, does Lightning Storm us, we just banish it and they're all protected. Like that's the whole point of this card. It just says no to Harpy's Feather Duster and Lightning Storm. 1 for G. This card is actually very good for the fact that we send it with Nadir's Servant right here. Like a lot of these are going to be sent with like Nadir's Servant or Punishment. So we send it with Nadir's Servant to get like if we've drawn like multiple cards, like maybe we've drawn multiple punishments or we've drawn multiple there can only be 1s, and we send this to the grave. Search Ecclesia, and then we just declare this card's effect, and this effect will allow us to draw 1 card and then put 1 brick from our hand back into our deck. So if we do draw multiples of bad floodgates, or we do draw multiples of trap cards that we can't really use, then this card just says no to those cards and just puts it back into the deck and unbricks us pretty much. So very strong card in general. Basically makes Nadir a +2, I'd say. Well, it's still a plus. Well, no, it's a +2 regardless because we get the punishment, but it just makes our hands less bricky, which is really, really good. 1 Nightmare Cerberus, just for utility purposes. 1 Lin for utility purposes. We don't really make it. 1 Phoenix to destroy back row. 1 Nightmare Unicorn if we ever make it. Like, we're never making these cards like 10. Chaos Soldier, because Soldier of Chaos, because it's just big, and if we make it with Alicino, they can't target it. We kill stuff, we banish stuff, stuff like that. 1 Burrow Sword, never gonna make it there just in case. Like, I had a lot of space in this extra deck, so it's just like a lot of the cards are here for potential stuff. So this could be a potential OTK piece or a potential kill piece. Deep Sea Prima Diva Donna. This card is in here for a second effect as well, because if this card is sent to the graveyard, we can go ahead and return 1 banish card and shuffle it into the deck. So send this off Nadir's Servant, search Ecclesia, and then just basically say, oh, there's a card in my banish zone, I don't want to be banished. Well, it's going back into the deck now. So that's pretty much the whole point behind this. Send it to grave, shuffle back, and just recycle our resources, which is really nice. Don't hit the camera, Robert. 1 Wind Pegasus Agnista. This is actually a pretty good card as well, because we send it off the Dogmatica punishment, and if our opponent is about to kill a monster that we control, then we go ahead and let them kill it. We go ahead and send this with the punishment as well. We sell this with the punishment, let them kill our card, and then we banish it and shuffle 1 card our opponent's controls into the deck. So literally it just says, oh, you may kill our card, but you're losing something as well, which is just really, really good. 1 Omega, this basically makes infinite punishment, so you go ahead and activate Omega, put back the punishment, and then search it again with like the Ecclesia that you add back with the Nadir 7 from the graveyard or something along along those lines. So it just means that you'll always have resources in the deck, which is really, really nice. And you can technically make an infinite Dogmatica combo with this card, because if your deck is like really low on resources, what you can do in the late game is you can go ahead and Nadir's Servant, return the Ecclesia to hand, then you can go ahead and Nadir's Servant, return the Ecclesia to hand, send the Omega to graveyard, then the Omega returns the Dogmatica Punishment, and then with the Omega you return the punishment, and then you normal summon the Ecclesia, and then just go ahead and search the punishment, which you're going to send then with the Omega next turn, which you can just put then you can just put the Nadir's Servant back in to your deck, and then just keep looping those cards, which is actually really, really good. And then we also play free Unts, Punishment, go ahead and pop cards, no reason not to play it. This card is just a free pop with like Nadir's Servant or Punishment, so just really good card in general. And then one Tionclad the Ash Dragon, because like if we don't really need to search anything, if we don't really need to send anything to pop, or we don't need to recycle, or we don't need to do any of these things, or hell, we don't even need to draw, this card just gets us knighted during the end phase, so we can have Punishment and Knight in our hand. Like, that's pretty much it. But guys, that's the deck profile. Honestly, I really like this deck. I think it's a really cool deck. I think it's a really fun deck, and I hope you did enjoy the deck profile and got some ideas for your own Amazement deck. I really do enjoy it. I think it's a great deck. I think you should all try it, at least if you're a control player like me, because control decks have always been one of the decks that I love, and showing you a deck like this, which is full control, full entertainment, and fully amazing, is just really cool to me. But thanks so much for watching, guys. That's the end of the video. I have nothing else really to say. Tell me your thoughts on this deck in the comment section below. Tell me some changes you would make. Help me make the deck better, because I want to be able to show you guys better builds of this, better duel videos of this, which will be coming. Like, I plan to play this deck in duel videos. I want to play more of it. I'm going to take it to the first locals probably that I go to when locals probably start back up. And yeah, guys, so thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, check out all the links in the description, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So yeah, later all. Amazement are just amazing. I really do enjoy them. Bye.